you bet, man. Absolutely. How's it going?
Good.
Good. Yo, I love the shelves behind you, man. You've posted them before. That is one aesthetic looking wall you have behind you.
Thank you, man. It's funny because it's really just like $3 Goodwill shelves one at a time. I think it probably took me like a year and a half to get all that together. I'm always moving it around.
Always seems to happen that way, right? Yo, I've got to actually ask me. I've been wondering for a while. Do you collect small figures, or are you just a toy guy? If it speaks to you, it speaks to you.
Yeah, kind of all of it. The minis are all kind of here. There's another room that's got more action figure stuff, and most of that's just kind of the 90s, like the Kenner aliens and a bunch of superhero villain stuff, that kind of thing. The minis are the ones that really have me the most hooked, probably because I can, fit the most of them.
And there's actually kind of like, I don't know about you, but the diversity. Once you find out that there's like multiples of them, you kind of want them all.
Yeah, I'm lucky because I'm not stuck with the like back of my brain completionist thing that a lot of people do, which is good because I've got the monster in my pockets and the muscles and all those up there, and if I needed all of them, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah, I can't even start, man. Now, out of curiosity, I've got to kind of ask, where did the whole Trashjoy Studios come from?
So I've always kind of liked the whole like trash art, lowbrow art aesthetic. I guess some of the original people that kind of hooked me on it, like Wizard of Barge was one of the big ones. Simeon Cheese is a huge one. He's actually the guy I would put kind of head and shoulders above everybody else for teaching me how to make this kind of stuff. And I was just kind of mulling over names, and I was like, that sounds good and short and easy to remember and kind of hits all of the points that I was trying to get across with the title.
Fair. I love it, man. No, I'm not going to lie. I didn't realize this might be like such a nervous wreck thing, because Trash Can Monster was with me the other day, and he was surprised that I was going to open it in front of him. Does that scare you?
No, go for it.
Nice. So he's there just like terrified, like, but what if something broke? And I was like, well, that's the mail's fault, man.
No, go for it. I'm unafraid, he says unconvincingly.
I've got also asked me, like, you kind of have a bit of a theme. You're always kind of mentioning in your posts, like, The Alchemist, like, you're always kind of dropping, like, Wizard and stuff like that. Is that kind of a theme that you're building upon, or what's up with that?
Yeah, so one of my absolute favorite game series is Dark Souls. And Dark Souls never hands you plot. They give you little tiny, like, oblique hints of what's going on in the world through, like, item descriptions and stuff.
Okay.
And so I kind of wanted to keep that idea going here. And the general idea is that there's a scavenger wizard who creates things in their workshop using a weird mix of garbage and technology and magic. And then there's another character, Trash Gramps, who is the former scavenger wizard who then ascended into other garbage planes of existence, seeking new and more powerful trash magics. So everything kind of ties around either things they encounter or things they create. And I'm just kind of, each new toy is sort of building on that mythos a little bit.
Now, as an artist, is there any symbolism, anything, or you just dig these characters you've created?
No, I don't think it goes too deep. I'm definitely kind of an animist myself. I feel like a lot of toy collectors probably at least kind of suspect there's a little life to the things they collect. So I like making things that kind of toy around with that line a lot, but I'm not really doing any deep metaphorical stuff with it.
No, but you know what, man? You hit something right on the mark there. I was talking to another dude the other day. We were both talking about it, to try and put into words like if a toy has a soul. And I think he just kind of actually said it, because like I'll often say, like, you look at a particular piece and you're like, it needed a home, and I was the right home for it. And you can almost tell, like, this toy is kind of looking at you and you're like, I wouldn't let anybody take you from my shelf, man. You're mine, like.
So I just got this guy. Perfect example. I was just talking to my friend Johnny Yuma down here. He's a wrestler down in SoCal. He wrestles with the group the Rock Nest Monsters. who are, their whole gimmick is like they are a space expeditionary duo who fight otherworldly monsters in between wrestling. Killer gimmick. And so I'm at one of their shows, and I'm looking at the merch tables, and I'm like, that's a fucking monster in my pocket, Loch Ness Monster bootleg on that table. And I go over to the table, and he's got like little bootleg minis supporting his wrestling stuff. Whoa. And he just made this dude, I don't know how well he comes in here, Lavar, Master of the Memphis Magma. And that was, he posted, like, he made a run of like 10 of them, and I saw that one with the black and the orange, and it was the only one in that color scheme. I was like, mine immediately. So exactly what you were talking about. Sometimes there's one that just immediately goes, hey, come here, take me home.
And not only that too, but like, what are the odds? You know what I mean? Like, I find the more that you can kind of link to a toy too, like when somebody's your buddy, or if it's particular, like for me it's music. If someone hits like a music note right away, I'm like, oh crap. So it's kind of sick that like you're at a wrestling event, you already appreciate these guys for what they do, and you kind of like dig what they do on that level, and then you have a fucking monster in my
exactly.
pocket. Like,
it's like, what are the odds that I would ever encounter those two things together in the same spot like that?
That's rad, man. That is absolutely rad. Now, you're kind of talking about the lore there with the scavenger wizard. I'm not gonna lie, the scavenger wizard I can get. It's the other one I have a really hard time with, unfortunately.
Oh, Trash Gramps?
Trash Gramps.
It'll stick. The thing is, my mental image for the character is, hold on here. Wow. Guarantee. So his base figure is going to be this dude. I don't know how well he comes in here. Bust him out of the bag. I guess he was an old, like, 70s D&D figure. Where's my idea? So the idea is that I'm going to take him, and then you remember the trash lady in Labyrinth?
Yep. With
the ridiculous tower of stuff on her back? I'm trying to find enough old toy junk to make one of those for him, and then that'll be the figure, and it'll be like the representative figure of the whole line. But I've been digging and putting together enough stuff to make that backpack has been a thing.
I believe it, man. Now I've covered all the things here. So far it looks so good, but I don't know if you know, you like nailed the mark on that, man. Some kind of pig zombie.
Oh yeah,
dude. Yep. You don't know how hard it is. Like, I keep my eyes peeled for like anything pig related, man. Anything pig related.
Yeah.
So that was like a fucking win right there.
So the other thing that's cool with that too is I've been just sort of throwing those together out of like extra resin I've got floating around. But that's a Series 3 monster in my pocket. So the originals of that guy are like $50-$60 at the low end. So I've just been making little bootleg ones and throwing them out as extras and stuff, just because knocking that overpriced system on its head a little bit is fun.
I dig the fuck out of that. I love it, man. That just adds right to like the radness of it. Like, that's hilarious, man. And you were actually
some of those old ones, man. Some of those old ones are those like the Bad Eggs bunch where it's like $100 for the one figure. That's too much.
Like, I think we all have a couple Motu floating around, or we all have 10 or 3.75s. And yet, for some reason, when we're kids, it was like really easy to part with like Z-Bots or any kind of monster in my pocket, or like the homies, any kind of.
Because they just fall out of your pocket, and then you forget that you even had it because you had 40 others.
Yeah, or a new wave came. Something. Because then, man, I have been so stoked for this dude. You rocked it with these, man.
Proud of the way that one came out. That was good stuff.
Yeah, honestly, like, you were right on the mark there, man. I've been like, if anything, this like set the tone, I think. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you want to take that, like, maybe it's a weird universal, like, collective consciousness, but this figure set a tone.
Fingers crossed that I can not only arrow down on like the horror side of things there, but regardless, I like the way he came out. That's Mario Rossi too. Worst toy design ever. Did the header stuff on that, and he's killer. He was like, I got an idea for this. I want to do the front like it's like a business card for him, and then the back like he exploded after everyone went crazy from his presents.
Dude, that's rad. Now, out of curiosity, is he a local guy or buddy of yours?
He is very not local. I met him first in the minifigure militia because I was trying to get some dino frogs, these little ridiculous Italian dinosaur minis. And he's in Italy. And he was like, yeah, we have a whole system set up where like everybody lumps their packages together in one country with him. He sends it all at once to here, and then Joe Martis, Simeon Cheese here spreads them all out in the US, and it saves everybody a ton of money on shipping. So then once I started actually making stuff, he was like, you know, I do all the header design stuff, so send me a copy of what you make, and I'll make you headers.
It doesn't get much better than that, man. And then I've noticed you threw in, these are your designs, correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's me.
I actually noticed.
Definitely not all me. There's a lot of people's content in there.
Yeah, but that's what makes
I
it dope.
it all together.
And that's what's important, is at the end of the day, like, you're helping it get around, man. Like, I don't know, a small part of me was a little bit jealous when I noticed that Vomiting Droids had acquired one.
That guy blows my mind. Because he just came out of the gate with those figures like nothing had come up before, and he was just 0 to 60. And it was like, shit, that's the aesthetic I wanted from the beginning. We've been talking about like trying to figure out some collab stuff. He just sent me a pile of like extras and offcasts and stuff. I'm looking forward to it.
That's totally rad. I'm gonna have one of those moments. Is that something I'm allowed to keep in, or would you rather I edit that out later on, and that way nobody knows that you're talking about a collab?
Tell you what, remind me that I said it, and let me by him. And if he says it's cool, I'm cool with it being in.
Sounds rad to me, man. And then, dude, you guys always go so nuts, man. Like, oh, yo, okay. I need to know, was this a collaborative piece? Yes,
it was. It's Bad Mojo Toys. Cat Fans Forever. His whole thing was he made that figure. If you look at them, the original figure was just like a weird golem-y human figure. And he sent it out. He said, anybody who wants one, I'll send it to you for free. Just do something with it. And so I sat there one night, like watching Bob's Burgers or something, and just sculpting weird shapes out of Sculpey for a neck. And I liked the way they came out.
Dude, they turned out awesome, man. Man, I don't know how to tell you. I'm not trying to make you feel weird or anything, but like, I dig the shit out of your work, man. Your stuff is just cool. Like, you know, I was dying for these. And I don't know if this bugs you or bothers you, but like, I actually have I separate my toys weird. I basically like put them into armies, right? Who would hang out on a battlefield? So personally, I've actually got the golems up there with vomiting droids. Because in my opinion, why wouldn't the vomiting droid stumble on those dudes and be like, yeah, hang with us? So now
I'm inclined to agree with you. And no, I 100%. There's probably 50 or 60 little individual headcanon stories that I have on the wall behind me there of why this character's up there with that character. And I've been thinking about that because that's part of what I want to do with that collab is to take his like acid mother weird edge of reality mutants thing, because it slots right in with the Trashjoy stuff perfectly.
Dude, I don't know, like, you're hitting so many marks for me with the way that you're saying things. It's like literally like exactly blow my mind, man. I'm like, dude, like, oh, yo, death tokens. Please explain the death tokens. These are so dope, man.
So the death tokens are just the whole story of those is on the back of the card there. The idea is that they're just things that the scavenger wizard makes that people can carry around in their pocket or put on a shelf somewhere to hopefully protect them from death for some span of time. The guy holding the skull is a homie, but that's exactly what the figure is that, here, hold on.
As if no way.
It's literally just, I didn't do anything to that one. It's literally just, that's the figure. And it was that cool that I was like, I gotta make a skull for that. And then I realized after I made that one that I had this old, like, Diener, I don't know how that brand is pronounced, but one of those old rubber eraser vultures. And I was like, oh, the two of those go together. I think eventually I'm gonna make one more of the vulture and just chop its head and neck off and try sticking it on the homie and see how I like that. I think that would probably wind up being a pretty cool figure if it's not too forward heavy and doesn't just fall over every time I put it up.
I don't know how you guys do that sometimes, man. Like, sometimes people think you're just making toys, but at the end of the day, like, there is really, like, it pissed me off if the figure didn't sit right, or the weight, the balance.
I got probably 4 or 5 of those Nyarlathoteps that just didn't go out because no matter how much I shaved the bottom of their foot, they would just poof over.
That's a bummer, man. Yo, dude, these...
I love that company, Solar Color Dust. So that stuff that's on them, it's not paint. It's like this really, really fine powder. And when you scoop tiny, tiny amounts of it out of the thing and brush them into the inside of the mold before you pour the resin in, and they stick perfectly. Like you rub your finger along it, you won't see anything coming off. Like it's a permanent part of it. And it makes these really awesome. Nyarlathotep has the same thing. It's the same stuff.
Yeah,
on his
head.
head.
How did you discover that, if you don't mind my asking?
Solar Color Dust was... I want to say it was Joe Martis, Simeon Cheese, who recommended it to me. Because he does these. I'm just going to keep flashing here. Over and over and over again the stuff here. He does... These guys were the guys that originally made me want to go into making toys in the first place. He does these molds of these old, the like MPC Fritos Halloween monsters, and he does them with that brush-in method with those that gets these really incredible results out of them. So I think I've got 3 or 4 each colorway here. I don't know if those are even visible. Whoa!
Yeah.
But yeah, those guys are like desert island, pick one small part of your collection and burn the rest. Those are probably the ones that are staying.
Brutal.
Oh, I have a good story.
Please.
I think you'll like this one. So, were you, as a Canadian, part of the Street Sharks frenzy that happened last summer?
I did not take part of it last summer, no.
So there were these Dollar Tree Street Sharks rubber minis. They're just like muscle-sized Street Sharks minis, and they sold out instantly, like everywhere, and people freaked for them, and we wound up with like these ridiculous price jumps of like $60. So do you know Sean Skirvin? I'm not actually 100% sure on the last name. He's also Canadian. He's the guy who does the silver and gold muscle and monster in my pocket sculpts.
Unfortunately, no.
So he traded me for 2 of the sets, the whole set, for this guy, which is my absolute favorite in the whole collection. It's my favorite of the monster in my pocket. It's Wymere, and it's sterling silver. Like if I threw it at your head, it would knock you unconscious. It's so heavy. That guy's my absolute favorite out of all of mine. And it's one of those things, like, that's kind of what I try to do with my collection is more than complete anything.
Right.
I just like having a little bit of everything in kind of museum status. So I've got a couple of those Street Sharks up there just expressly for being able to be like, I remember back in the summer of 2019 when the Street Sharks frenzy happened.
Joke, man. All right, now I'm personally gonna try and rapid fire some random questions at you. You ready?
All right.
Alrighty. So, who would be your favorite artist or creative?
Period? Shit. Fuck. That's a very good question. Junji Ito is really, really high up there. Actual painters, I'm almost assuredly going to slaughter the name, but Zadislav Beksinski does amazing stuff. You might not recognize the name, but if you saw one of his paintings, you'd immediately be like, oh, that guy. He does these really abstract, horrific, kind of Silent Hill looking landscapes.
Okay.
His stuff's killer. RK Post is a big one. He does a lot of art for Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering.
You didn't even pick those up. They were already in your hand. How did you do that?
What is the strangest thing that you've ever casted or molded?
When I was absolutely first starting casting, I got super frustrated at the fact that I kept wasting resin. There was always some little amount of resin left over that didn't go anywhere. So I got this incredibly stupid idea to cast this thing that in my head I called the bootleg beast. And it was this enormous resin monstrosity that was meant to just be an overpour for all the extra stuff. And it's stupidly large and not well designed, and I thoroughly regret wasting all of the rubber on it that I did. But the strangest thing is not the bootleg beast itself. That was all preamble. The strangest thing is in the front there, the teeth that are in there are an actual pair of super smashed up human dentures that I found on the ground, like working an event one day. And I took them and was like, there's no way I'm not making something out of these.
Why did you start making toys?
Joe Martis was the one who really made me realize that I could do it. But like, I also feel like I have the same answer as probably more than half of the people who make toys, which is Sid from Toy Story. Like 100% when I was younger, before I realized how well casting worked for making, I definitely did a lot of that, just glue a bunch of figures together and then paint them a different way style making, which still makes cool stuff to this day. I've just kind of fallen more for that resin stuff that's all one piece, just kind of has that sort of like artifact quality to it that an articulated piece doesn't have.
It's like a little statuette.
Exactly, yeah. It almost feels like a weird midway point between like a toy and a religious item.
How long have you been making toys for?
Not long at all. Like,
COVID?
Yeah, basically like end of last year I kind of started, and then everything I've learned about it has been because I've been at home. If you're stuck doing nothing, you might as well find something to make.
Hopefully. Do you keep a toy with you at all times?
Not at all times, but if I'm going somewhere, I tend to always like pack something with me. The design on those Brother Lamassus that I made, like one of the first ones I made, was they were supposed to be, because a Lamassu in like Mesopotamian mythology is like a household protector spirit.
Right.
So I'll usually throw one of those in, and then it just sits like in the glove box of the car when I'm going places.
What would be the biggest error that you've made?
Worst failure I ever had was before I learned to put goggles on every single time I worked with resin, I was stirring the most bullshit amount of resin, like one of those death tokens worth of resin, and I was stirring, and one drop of it went out of the cup, and I swear to God, it had to have dead centered my pupil in the middle of my eyeball. And every now and then I'll still blink and get a little bit of blur and be convinced it's from that. So that's the one. Never again, never again. Always wear your goddamn goggles.
What is your favorite part of the process?
Pulling something out and seeing that it worked well. Like when you pull one out and you get a response, like a reaction from the colors going together that was better than you would have hoped for. That's the best.
And what would you say drives you the most insane while you're making?
Fucking air bubbles.
Do you use a pressure like?
I don't. I'm
Okay.
going to.
In my opinion, that's pretty fucking impressive, man. Like I don't see bubbles on that. So that's more why I ask. I'm usually not asking people if they use a pressure pot because I'm like, oh, why aren't you using a pressure pot? I'm just asking because I'm more like, hot damn, you're not using a pressure pot for this? Like,
well, that's because only the ones that are good enough go out.
yeah,
But
well,
I find out that part of it too, though, is like you test a mold, and some pieces cooperate better than others. Like I think I only had 2 or 3 where if you look like right above the bolo tie, where the bottom of the tentacle head is kind of angled,
right.
sometimes they'll get little dots in there, but nothing that like throws it off.
No.
I also don't mind the imperfections. I've always kind of liked that whole like wabi-sabi element to it.
Maybe you'll agree with me. The right imperfections, but when you buy a piece that you're not expecting and like the artist like almost should be flawless, and then there's something almost just like silly, those ones admittedly like they scratch my brain, man. Like I actually personally feel like each piece has its own like uniqueness, and there'll be a piece about it that's like really kind of special. But it's almost as though like when you buy a piece like yourself, Trash Can Monster, any of the dudes who are basically at home making them, the moment
Yeah.
it has a little bit of like a homemade quality, it raises the bar. It's dope in my opinion.
That's why I was saying vomiting droids earlier. Like his stuff is so good because it's not just embracing the imperfections, it's like making the imperfections the center of what the pieces are, and that is excellent, and I want to do more like that in the future.
Just in general, and again, like, maybe it comes back to like what artists you like and what kind of styles you like, but even like when one of the dudes will roll with an imperfection, whenever I see a bootleg person do that, in my opinion, that's like, yeah. Like even you have I've been looking, I had to hum and haw on it for quite a while. You have a Nyarlathotep that actually has the white with a bit of blood or red resin right there.
Oh, that was before I had it was before I had that was like, I think the first one that I poured in that mold, and there was a spot there that I didn't realize needed another air hole. And so when I cast it, that spot was a big empty spot, and I was like, oh, I got the red, I have a little dropper thing of like the red UV cure resin where you put it in, then you stick it in the sun for like 10 minutes and it's hardened. And I was like, oh, I like the way that one looks.
I would definitely say so. And again, like, I don't know, man, like happy accidents, I guess.
Yeah.
Those, and in my opinion, those are dope when a toy just has, and even sometimes like it builds it into the character when it has an imperfection. I don't know. Toys are weird, right?
There's the entire podcast name right there. Toys are weird, right?
I don't want to take up any more of your time, man. Was there any new releases or any new work that you wanted to tell us about, or kind of give us a heads up about, or talk about?
In the new year, there's going to be a few new ones, like pretty early on in the new year, January or February.
Dirty. Well, I'm looking forward to it, man. Thank you very, very much for coming in and talking toys. And dude, honestly, thanks for like, the toys are rad and the crazy goodies, man.
I'm glad you like it, man. Thank you.
Oh, dude, like, again, I always try not to creep you guys out, but like, I'm hoping to grab from you for a long time coming, man. Like, your pieces are unique. They're cool. You have a cool story for them. You're a cool dude. I'm down.
I appreciate it. It's you don't get that kind of enthusiasm all that much in the world anymore. I don't mean to be awkward about it. It's the kind of thing where, like, I think especially in the US now, if it doesn't have that like kind of layer of irony or cynicism with it, we kind of vampire recoil from it a little bit. But I do appreciate it.
I appreciate it, man. And honestly, like, I just hope you guys keep going. Like, I don't want to say I hope COVID lasts forever or anything, but I just hope you guys keep on creating. So
I'm definitely into it at this point, and the ideas are nowhere near running out. So I'm definitely going to keep going.
I love it. Dirty. Well, thank you so much again, man. And try and have a great rest of the night, dude.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.